You're a big proponent of buying businesses.
The easiest way for kids is the internet, net scum as I call them. We have a proponent of net scum in the audience who's one of my mentees. He's one of your own. He happens to be a college student. He does $1 million this year. Some of the top net guys around I trained. Shakir Hussein, Matt Lloyd, Matt Posius, I trained them all. I trained Jan as well. But there's at least 1,000 different programs on the net. 999 of them aren't worth a shit. And they're all scams. Some are multi-level marketing. But that's a quick way. But you're competing with some lady in Bangalore, Maine with a 10,000 rupee debit card. When Sally and I first got on the net about 20 years ago, we were one of the first. We would look at the products that were the hottest, build affiliate programs, etc. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. I know all of you got an app idea. Forget it. There's maybe 15 or 20 apps in the history of apps that ever made any money. And quite frankly, kids, you're not bright enough to do that. You're just not. So don't waste your time. You're pissing in the wind. Find something that's already popular, copy it. Become an affiliate. You know, I've got kids making $5 million a month. That's more than most of your families have made in their whole fucking lifetime. And we're talking dollars, not floppies or sloopers. I made an analogy on YouTube. I said, you have a wife or children. I stuck a gun in your wife's mouth and I said, you got a week to come up with 20 grand or I'm gonna blow her fucking brains out. I don't understand. I was once poor. Nobody remember that. 20 grand was all the money I could raise, but if I wanted something, I'd get 20 grand. I made the analogy, one of my friends, somebody was gonna blow your kid's head off, that you needed 20 grand overnight, and he said, I'd call you, Dan. I understand that. If you want it bad enough, you find a way. I'm not talking about stealing or anything like that, believe me. Grant Cardone has a little phrase, believe in yourself enough to borrow against your own future. I'm not telling you to do that because I'm not here to promote debt, or debt, as they say in this part of the world. We have kids that saved for years. We have kids that borrowed from their in-laws, but everything on my site is free. 99.9999% of all the billions that have been created, I have never met. I would know them if you were sitting in the audience. It's all free. Why did I decide? I went from the most expensive stuff on the internet, $5,000, $10,000 for a little course, to zero. Because I wanted to take the last excuse away from you weenies why you don't do it. So you can't say 20 years from now, I didn't know how. When the material is free, you just didn't look at it. It's free. The differentiation is the Year Mentor Program. I mentor you for free for a year after you come to the seminar. Because why is it for free? Because if I decide to retire, if I decide that you're worthless, most of the time the kids drop out because I'm so tough. Kids, my daughter over here, God love her, she would say, why in the fuck would anybody want to be with you for a year being mentored? They have no idea. They have a death wish? They have shit for brains? Because I am hard. I'm not like your weenie parents. The only thing I don't do now is I don't hit you anymore. But I'd love to choke you sometimes. I really would. 3/4 of the people in this room need a goddamn beating. That's what you need. Some of the shit that comes out of your mouth is vile. It's detestable. Because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You have no idea. How many presidents have you met? How many dead people? How many times have you jumped from space? You don't know anything. Yet you got an opinion on everything, don't you? You get on those goddamn blogs. I mean, it's unbelievable. Most of you shouldn't live in Poland. Did you see it on the competitive list? Now wake up, meatheads. I put that fucking chart up there for a reason. Wake up! I tell people, and I'm not telling you, when I was growing up making money, I spent 125% of every penny that I made every year. If I made $10,000, I spent $12,500. If I made $1 million, I spent $1.25 million. If I made $10 million, I spent $12.5 million. Why did I do that? Because I didn't want a backup plan. I wanted nothing that I could lean back on. You know how they tell you to have 6-month reserves? That's all horseshit. Guess what? Then you have a backup plan, and then your whole life turns into a backup plan. It's only recently, in the last 10 or 15 years, that we don't spend 125% of what we make. And that's just the opposite of what the gurus tell the kids. But if you have no choice but to succeed, where failure is not an option, guess what? You don't fail. If your life depended on it, you wouldn't fail. Even as far back as World War II, some of the great fighters, some of the great fights were the Polish in the Polish Air Force over the Battle of Britain. What the fuck happened to everybody? It's tough to find anybody that's got a weenie more than 1 centimeter long. These guys, we were in Starbucks. I looked at these kids. I almost was going to jump up and go, ah! And all shit their pants, literally. One guy, they kept on looking at his hair going like this, and he had a mirror in his phone. I never saw that before. He had a mirror. And he's going, I just wanted to go up and just and hit him in the head. Girls, what happened? A stiff drink at a good fucking killed 70% of the guys that I've met so far here. But it's where the world is. I do believe in debt. Just only recently, Sally and I are debt-free. We don't owe 5 euros to anybody. But there was a time where we had a lot of debt. But we don't anymore because I'm not in that growth mode. I'm in your growth mode. And I'm creating the best results that anybody's got on the planet. Nobody can talk about millionaire teenager to 500 billion. Nobody. Josh isn't a meathead by any stretch of the imagination. Ask Jan. Jan was his roommate. You probably bullied him. You were his roommate at the gas castle. And he's just a little teeny kid. He looks 10, 11, 12. He has no facial hair, but he's a deal-doing motherfucker, boy. Because he does exactly what I tell him every step of the way. Because I'm like an Olympic coach. You want to get a gold medal, sweetheart? And you can't call girls sweetheart anymore. Hey, blondie, big ass, big tits. You want to get a goddamn gold medal? You do this. And I'm not like Harvey Weinstein I'm just strictly business. You get the results following. I have 7 easy steps. You don't have to come to the castle. I'm being sarcastic. Some of you, I think you can't count to 7 by looking at you. I only have 3 regrets. I'm a combat-trained Army officer who never saw combat. The night before my mother died, as Sally will attest, I'm screaming, "You're not sick. You're not going to die, goddammit. Quit crying like a baby." She dies the next morning. And the third thing is that I would have set higher goals. Those are my only 3 regrets. Not that I wasn't nice to my kids, but if I had to do it over again, I would have been harder on my children, set higher goals, and my goals are pretty damn high for my kids. I would have taken better care of myself even sooner than I did from 1974. I was running 100 miles in 1977. I was running the Boston Marathon and all that stuff in respectable times, not 4 or 5 hour marathons. I'd kill myself if I did that. I can tell we got 4 or 5 hour marathoners in here. I could look at your face. Why sleep next to a beautiful woman if it's consensual and not have sex? What the fuck's wrong with you? Well, see, your dream is to sleep next to a beautiful woman. I understand that. I've been doing this stuff. I'm fit for 50. I'm in as good a shape as any 50-year-old. Now I'm 72. I'm going to jump out of space here pretty soon. Out of space. And I'm going to be yelling, "Motherfucker," all the way down. Just like in the tower. But you only have one time to go around. I would say, and this is a tough thing for me to say because when I was your age, I drank like a fish. I wake up with a hangover every single day. And I still got straight A's. 100 on the papers. But I'd say wasted calories. So you don't worry about calories now, some of you, because you burn them off so quickly. When you get to be 40, 50, 60, and 70, you don't burn those calories off so quickly. I can attest to that. Most of you don't have to worry about it because your metabolism is so quick. My values in my life, the same as in my work. They're all the same. It's be all I can be. Every day I wake up in the morning. If I don't get an A on everything I do, I failed. Not a B or B plus. But whether it's communicating with the kids like yourselves, whether it's a transaction, I'm doing 100%. You've got to be honest, moral, and ethical. Those are my 3 benchmarks. If it's not honest, moral, and ethical, I don't do it. Now, some of you will say or think, well, my ethics aren't the same as his ethics. You're right about that. Because, eye for an eye in the Bible and to turn the other cheek in the Bible. I'm certainly eye for an eye. I'm not sure I ever turned the other cheek. Slight exaggeration. Honest, moral, and ethical. It's too easy to get off the mark and do dishonest stuff. I'm not saying it's any easier now than it used to be. Somebody wants to cheat you, they're going to cheat you. They'll figure out a way to cheat. But no, it's got to be honest, moral, and ethical. Quite frankly, a lot of the guys that you read about, they never talk about that. Nobody ever asked Warren Buffett. Nobody ever asked Steve Jobs that same question. Nobody ever asked Elon. Nobody. There's a reason. Those guys are fucking hard as nails. Some of those guys think I'm pussy. And if I'm a pussy, what the fuck are you? I can eat this whole room alive by myself. And I'm a pussy in that world. Some of the big guys think I'm weak. Just think about it. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not weak. So I'm not ruthless. I know how to be ruthless. If you and I are in a corporate battle and you decide to up the game and do something, I'll cut your head off and shit down your neck. I know how to do that. It's a little difficult with a little lady. You got to get the shoulders in between your knees like this, and you got to turn like this. But I know how to do that. Plus, I'm physically tough. I'm a tough guy.
In one sentence, the advice for the students, what they should do to be more likely like you or...
Okay, 1, give it all your friends. I'm going to tell you what the most successful kids in my program do. You're going to be sick to your stomach. I'm going to tell you. Number 1, they all work on their laptop on a treadmill. You understand me? 4 kilometers an hour seems to be the right pace. Number 2, they close down their Facebook. I'm going to say it real slow for you. Close down their Facebook. Number 3, they get rid of their dipshit colleagues. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Upgrade them. You don't want to associate with anybody in this room, any of you. Number 3, they either disassociate 100% or nearly 100% with their parents. We've had people that I've met, young girls, that talk to their mother 15, 20 times a day on the phone or texting. That's a neuroses. That's sickness. Next thing they do is go out and find high-performance people. Well, I don't know where to look, Mr. Big. It's on my goddamn website. Number 5, increase your communication skills or the lack thereof. High performers can talk. Number 6, take a class in leadership. Also on my website. Number 7, make a hard decision whether higher education is for you or not. And I'm not telling you to quit school. I didn't need to go back to school. The only reason I went back to school is I flunked out 3 times. And it was a matter of honor, principle, or I don't know what. Although we had 2 graduates from my school at the last seminar, 2 women. Japanese woman from Tokyo and a Chinese woman. I was the class of 71. The one Chinese gal was class of 93 and the other Japanese gal was the class of 205. When I went there, it was the school you got to explain about. I would would do those things. But those are hard things to do, especially because I yelled at my mom the day before she died. I told her, God damn it, if I could take anything back, that'd be one thing for sure. That's the way it was, and that's what I did. For 7 years, I moved away from the United States and came to Europe because I knew if I stayed there, I'd have to be part of the familia, Latino. Now, I knew I couldn't do it. You know, we have some high performers in my family, all educator, principals, college professors, high performers, but they weren't after, remember that money tree? They weren't at the trough sucking up money, and I knew. So I came to Europe. Kids leave countries that they're educated in. There's no crime in that. But your college professors are smarter than you think they are. I know you think they're all dipshits. They are smarter, and they have some wisdom. They may not have wisdom how to be a money grubber, create wealth like I do, but they have wisdom. Although I don't believe in the tenure system. Do they have tenure here where you can't get fired? Because I believe that reduces efficiency from professors. Normally, you go to school for the wrong reasons, but find a mentor. And you don't have to be an alpha male. This is really important. 98% of all the high performance people on the planet are not alpha males. 2% are alpha males like me. 98% are non-alpha males like Richard Branson, Elon Musk. They're non-alpha males. And you can be an introvert and be a high performance person. Warren Buffett's an introvert. Elon Musk is an introvert. So you don't have to be an alpha male crazy like me. You hear more about the crazies like me. Plenty of effective people. Klaus Kleinfeld, my star, he's not an alpha male. He's a well-educated German. They couldn't have picked a better person to build the future city of the 23rd century. I mean, because he believes in saving the world. I don't give a shit about the world because I'm not going to be here when it all. See, I'm honest with you. When I told the Oxford kids that, I thought the kids were going to pass out. And I am part of the generation that ripped the ass out of the world in the 80s. You're looking at one of the biggest ass rippers on the planet. I'm proud to say, but I've gotten religion now. I don't mind you saving the world, but don't look to me to save it. I'll give you the tools. You want to change the world? Go invent something that changes a billion lives, like Zuckerberg, make a bunch of money, and then save the world. You come up with an idea that changes a billion lives, you'll get wealthy. But the kids now think marching around embassies with placards, and I mean, they're not going to save anything. All you're going to do is wear out your shoes. If you don't think money can buy happiness, kids, you don't know where to shop. You just don't. And money's not everything. That's the only thing anybody keeps track of. And your parents don't keep track of because they don't have any. And remember that money chart. I could see it resonate in your eyes. Money is dirty. That's fine. But then how are you going to save the world?
Any ideas of how to get tougher?
I tell kids, enroll in Toastmasters, learn how to speak. Go to improvisation, acting classes where they tell you, for example, this is a gold bar, sell it to me. Communication skills. Martial arts. The best martial arts for getting tough is boxing. Not Taekwondo and all that shit where they pull punches. Ask a guy to knock the shit out of you, Adam, who went to martial arts to get the shit kicked out of him about a year ago. And he's a big guy. If I punched most of you guys in the stomach, you'd pass out. I mean, literally. You are who you hang around with. And you hang around with wusses, you become a wuss. And I happen to hang around with a lot of tough guys. And plus my dad was a super tough alpha male. All my dad's buddies were war hero guys, just like your grandparents used to be. Stuff that I saw growing up is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's what you do. Here I am, 65 years later. I tell young kids, join the military. Even the wussy military now is better than the wussy life that you're leading. Now, I'm not telling you to go back, slap your mother. I'm not telling you that, even though some of your moms need to be slapped. You're way past that, so I don't want you going to jail for that. You going back and telling your parents this isn't going to do any good. I have a great saying, a motto, don't waste time on things you can't change. Your parents are never going to change. Never. They're past that. So don't waste time on things you can't change. Some of the guys that listen to podcasts, on Halloween, there's going to be a 50% sale, 50% everything I sell on my site. Well, what was it worth the day before Halloween? If they're giving you a 50% discount today, what was it worth the day before? Somehow you don't recognize that. Most of the stuff sold via the net is crap, vis-a-vis personal wealth. I forgot my prop. I have a book. Normally it says Success, the book that Napoleon Hill wrote first before Think and Go Rich. Rules of Success. Andrew Carnegie hired him to write Think and Go Rich. That book was on success, was the first book. Now, success can be measured. Push-ups, grades, how fast are you, how much money you make, right? So Napoleon Hill, who was bankrupt at the time, back in the 50s, was approached by a man named W. Clement Stone. W. Clement Stone was an insurance guy, founded a company called Combined Insurance, a very wealthy guy. He's big into motivation, positive mental attitude. He wanted to come up with a new gimmick to motivate all his salesmen. So he hired Napoleon Hill, we got to come up with a new scam. So they came up, well, we got these rules of success. Stone said, success is too easily measured, let's call it something else. And so they pondered, let's call it development, personal development. You can't measure personal development, can you? It's an amorphous, it's a smoke. And that's how the personal development industry was born in the late 50s on a fucking insurance scam. Nobody on the planet is talking about that. But if you Google hard enough, you can find it back on page 40. But you kids only go the first 2 or 3 pages, don't you? Has anybody ever been on page 40 of anything on Google? Fuck no. Because you know 80 or 90% of all the info is in the first 2 or 3 pages. Normally the first 2 pages. Normally the first page. But that's how personal development was born. Now look at all the gurus we have for personal development. It's all bullshit. And you can't measure it. They've always got something else to say. It's very measurable what Josh, the phenom teenager, did. If Jan can make $1 million in a year, Polish dipshit mentee of mine, fuck, everybody in this room ought to be able to. Look at him over there. Raise your hand. Jesus Christ. That dipshit can. can. Anybody on the planet can. I'm proud of him, but I mean, I want him to do much better. He's actually got kind of sloppy lazy now because he makes so much more money than all the rest of the polls. That's the real reason. He's got in his comfort zone. He's thinking, why did I show up today? Why did I come here to have Dan beat me up? He's the kind of guy that needs a beating. He needs to be mentally thrashed. Some of you respond to thrash better than others. Some of you don't. For a really good coach, a world-class coach, they got to figure that out, and I do. I know exactly what button to push when. My lovely Yorkshire wife would say, button. I know which button to push and when to push it and how many times to push it. On Facebook, you can poke somebody and you can hit that poke button 50 times. You poke people on Facebook, I know how many times to poke you, and I know when, and it works. Because if you think that you're just going to leave here, all of a sudden your life is transformed, it's not. You're going to have to do something about it. Like when President Trump got elected a year ago, November 8th, I went on YouTube and I made the public statement, we're at the beginning of the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of the world since World War II. How I knew that's a whole other, we've got over $1 trillion added to American stock markets, and virtually every stock market on the planet is up dramatically, between 15 and 20%. Of the 20 things I said Trump was going to do, he's done 17. He's only not done 3. Do you want to know what the 3 are? 1, bomb Iran. 2, bomb Syria. 3, bomb North Korea. Those are the only 3 bloody things I said he would do that he hasn't done. He did the 17 in the first 6 months. I said it'd be the first term, 4 years. Why do I know that? Other than I knew him in another lifetime. Because I think exactly like he does. I think exactly like the people that have made almost $6 trillion in the American stock market. I know what it's like and what it means to have free money. I know what it's like if they do away with inheritance tax in America. The average person in America doesn't have an estate worth over $5 million, doesn't give a shit. People might, like me, do. That's why the market's up so much. I know what it means to bring individual tax rates down to 30, 35. But if your dad's, I'm not demeaning your dad's a plumber, your dad's a laborer, your dad works in a bank, your dad works in a grocery store, I'm not demeaning that. But how can you possibly relate? Your parents can't relate to death tax. Do they have a death tax in this country? When you die, part of your estate goes to the government. Every other country in the free world has a death tax. See, people like me understand what that means. Because you're not hanging, you're not chilling with those people, you have not a fucking clue. What am I even talking about, some of you? You look like deers in the headlight. Look up tax reduction. Whether you're a free market person, a Keynesian, or whatever. Reducing tax, a dramatic effect both on the poor and the rich. Everybody seems to know that, but I don't agree with everything Mr. Trump says. He knows how to kick the ass of the economy. He really does. And it is better for the United States to be friendly with Russia. You notice I didn't say bomb Russia. Now that wouldn't be too bright. I believe with all my heart, being an ex-military guy, we'd win, but at a great cost. We don't want that. I'm not really too thrilled about bombing North Korea because the South Koreans are going to suffer. I don't really give a shit about Iran or Syria. If you got relatives there, I'd move them out. Get rid of your parents and all your friends. I don't mean it that way. Nothing's 100%. If you talk to your mom every day, that's a neurosis. Unless your mom's sick or something. But if your mom's healthy, you can come up with a reason why you talk to her every day. Email my website. I'd like to see what the fuck it is. Most of you got married for the wrong reason. Most of you had kids for the wrong reason. Most of your kids, you're all mistakes. That's a slight exaggeration. It's a harsh thing to say. Unless your significant other has the same goals that you have, fighting a war on two fronts, as Hitler, Napoleon proved, doesn't work out too well. And most of your significant others, I'm not demeaning women. The women in my day, 2.5 kids, pick a fence, and unless your goals are aligned, you'll have time. Most of the kids now, they work 30 or 40 hours. That's a big week. My wife reminded me a few weeks ago, I keep saying I work 50, 60 hours a week, and then she did the sum. She says, Dan, you still work 80, 90 hours a week. And I'm retired. 80, 90 hours a week is twice what your parents work. They don't have excuses why they don't work long hours. If you work for a big company and you don't get paid overtime, which I think you do because it's an EU rule, but they're satisfied. They're satiated. They're happy where they are. You're growing up, ostensibly, allegedly you're growing up, you kids. I would beg to differ because adults, in my mind, have adult results. Unless this is a really unusual group, you don't have adult results. I remember what it was to be 19, 20, 21. I know it's hard to believe, but I was young once. My idea to go to school, I went in 1964, I went to San Jose State University, which was voted by Playboy magazine as the Playboy School of the Year. That's why I went there. Had nothing to do with academics, had nothing to do with what they taught. It was sex and rock and roll. I skipped the drugs. The girls were setting the fraternities on fire, pulling male students out and raping them in the streets. I've been raped. I would be embarrassed, fucking embarrassed, to go to the police station. I'm not saying that for you girls, but me, I'm a big guy. It took 4 or 5 of them to take me down, but at the end, I didn't fight too hard towards the end. I gave in. I just closed my eyes and pretended I was someplace else. Isn't that what they say? I'm not demeaning anything about violate women. Now they're coming out 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Well, mine was about 40 years ago, so I had to go to CNN, talk to Anderson Cooper, say that I wonder if those women are still around that took advantage of me when I was just a young thing, helpless as I was. Jan, stand up, please. Even though I'm poking fun at him, he's successful. He's a student, and he had the privilege of being the roommate of the young phenom. His class had a lot of successful people in it 2 years ago, and he's come back for another beating. You didn't look as young as these kids look. Maybe he's got a beard now. And I'm not telling you anything I didn't tell him, and I haven't told the kids for 25 years. My 25th anniversary is coming up. It'll be 25 years that I gave. My first seminar was in May 1993. We have 5 kids from the Hall of Fame from that one seminar group. I slapped you. I did some other things to you, but we had no lawsuits, no sexual harassment against me. But kids, it's out there if you want it. If you want it bad enough. For those of you that want to go on and be educated, that's an honorable profession. I'm not here to talk about that. What I was here to talk about was creating generational wealth. Wealth that would normally take you a generation, 20, 25 years. We've been fortunate enough to come up with a model that I personally use, turn $800 into $450 million, and more recently, billions for the kids. All free on my website. I'm not selling you anything, and there's no half price, no any of that. I will admit, if you're smarter, it's easier. But we've had 80 IQ and 180 IQs. The 80 IQ did a 400 million pound deal. The 180 IQ only did a 50 million pound deal. So it doesn't take a bunch of IQ. It helps, but it doesn't take a bunch of IQ. And you should be able to do this, no problem.
What is the ultimate reward for you? Why do you do all of this?
When they put dirt on me in 50 years from now, I'm going to live to at least 120. It's going to say, Allah, Buddha, Christ, Pena. Or maybe Pena, Allah, Buddha, Christ. And as the greatest high-performance coach that ever walked the face of the earth. I'm already the greatest vis-a-vis creating wealth. Nobody's even close. Your manifestation for me doing it to you, for you, to you some cases, for you to spread the word. That's why I do these things for free. Nobody's paying me for any of this. I'm not expecting any returns. Klaus Kleinfeld, 500 billion, came out of the blue more or less. He was always a high-performance person. One of the things that you kids were taught not to be was not to be selfish. Wrongfully, your parents told you that. You can't be all you can be unless you're selfish for yourself. My lovely wife worships me. Her love for me is transitory compared to my love for myself. Nobody loves Dan Pena more than Dan Pena. Nobody. Nobody loves Steve Jobs more than Steve. Nobody loves Elon more than Elon. Bill Gates. I can go down the line of every one of these son of a bitches, and they all love the shit out of themselves. And I don't see any love for you in your eyes in this goddamn group. I see fear. I can smell fear. I can smell death. Most people aren't more successful because then once you're successful, can I do it again? I'm doing it, so when they finally put dirt on me, they don't talk about who the fuck was Napoleon Hill. Fuck him. Your first 100 million on torrent or whatever, you can get it for free. The greatest book, in my judgment, that was ever written. It looks like a Bible because I'm telling you what the fuck God knows in that book. I'm giving you a pattern, a model, processes and procedures that have made $50 billion with fucking monkeys just like you. Half-wits, meatheads, insecure. That's why I'm doing it. And I'm not ashamed of it. There's nobody that has even remotely close numbers. Nobody talks about numbers because they haven't been created. The only numbers they've created is selling shit to you. Just think how fucking thick you must be to buy that shit. Or you're desperate. People come to me out of desperation, not inspiration. You've tried everything else known to man, and it hasn't worked. I am the last saloon, the last pub, the last bar, on the last street or the last town before you go off cliff. People that come to me. I am the last chance. You've tried everything. Next thing is me or to swallow a revolver, metaphorically speaking. You think people would come to me if they had another choice? Because I beat you like a fucking rented mule, and that's the truth. So don't be coming to me. It's all free on my site.
The habit which influence your life the most in a good way.
I have extraordinary work habits. My work ethic is extraordinary. Jim Ryan told me 40, 50 years ago, that motivation gets you going, good habits keep you going. I have extraordinary habits. Good habits are more easily promoted with other people that have good habits. Unfortunately, most of the people that you hang with have shit habits. You're in an office building at 4:35 o'clock. You get run down by the elevator for people leaving from work. Literally. Why? I told my children, both when they got out in the workforce, be first to work in the entire building. Doesn't matter. It's not all your company. Be first to work in the building and be last to leave the building. First in the building, last to leave the building. When the security people are cleaning the trash cans, that's when you can leave. And both of them said, Daddy, you have no idea. The president of the company knows that I was there. Chairman of the company wants to know when he's driving in his limo, whose light is that still on? No, that's Kelly Pena. You'll separate everybody else. It's good habits. How much longer am I going to do this? As long as I'm healthy. I still enjoy taking a dipshit like Jan, who should have swallowed a revolver 2 years ago. Literally. And $1 million, it really isn't. It's shit. But in Poland, it's a big fucking deal. $1 million is a big fucking deal in Poland, isn't it? It's unbelievable. You were right, Jan. I didn't believe you.
What's the most important in achieving success?
Be passionate and loving what you're doing. Because if you don't love what you do, it gets old. It's like the woman you sleep next to, the guy you sleep next to. Pretty soon, the girl says, don't touch me. How do girls smile when I just said that? They know that feeling. Don't touch me. You gotta be passionate about what you do because it gets old. I, unbeknownst to me, have fallen in love with the idea of me being the greatest high-performance coach that ever lived, and you're a manifestation of that. And when I see the kids do these extraordinary things, like Josh and Jan, it's a good feeling. To me, you're all like kids I don't need. My children, if they were sitting here, and they've all been through the seminars, they would say, these kids have a death wish. I believe with all my heart, the kids, the only thing they lack is guidance and leadership. My demographics changed 10 years ago. People that came to me were 35 to 55. Now they're 15 to 35. 15, because information is almost instantaneous. They know that a lot of the stuff your parents tell you is bullshit. You're not in a position to tell them it's bullshit, but you know it's bullshit. Now you can get information that's instantaneous, and there is a different way. There is a better way. People do leave Poland. Why are there so few billionaires in Poland? I realize that there's corruption everywhere. But I mean, you come from such deep, rich heritage of having balls, and you don't now. It's unbelievable. I read through the history. I knew about what I was reading through the history and preparing. Christ, these guys really did some shit. Now look at them all. They say that scaring themselves is asking some girl for a phone number. I mean, I went to a funeral, a 2-day funeral a few months ago, and I told my contemporaries that, and they couldn't believe it. But the kids at the table, your age, they could relate. They could relate.